Hi, I'm Shara Ogilvie. I'm an author, I'm a therapist. I'm trying to write my trauma stories into a wonderful memoir to share with the world because I've learned so much from my stories and I want to share that. So this channel documents my journey from beginning to write to hopefully becoming a published author. Today I want to talk about the structure called thriller structure in writing. It's something I'm just learning about. Okay, let me explain a little something. I, in my journey of becoming a writer, have not really understood how engineered stories have to be for the human mind to love them. We don't just automatically love any story that somebody tells. It has to have certain elements told in a certain way, and then we are eating out of the person's hand telling it. Have you ever noticed that to be true? I have a great example from my own life where it just stood out to me so sharply how much stories have got to be told a certain way or we just don't care. I was flipping through Amazon Prime looking for a documentary. I love documentaries, especially Ken Burns documentaries, because his storytelling is so good. But I saw a topic about some war that I was interested in. It was an older documentary, but I thought, what the heck, you never know. Maybe I'll strike gold. I turned it on and I tried to give it 2 or 3 minutes, but it was all I could do to force myself to watch for those 2 or 3 minutes. Because what happened is it started out just panning across a valley and it had some names pop up on the screen of who was involved. What is that? The pre-credits or whatever. And some soft music. And then it went to a waterfall and a narrator started talking. And I was out of there. I could not have been more bored. And what's sad is the topic actually interested me. This particular war or whatever it was. I don't remember. I love history. But nothing was happening. I wanted to see swords against swords. I wanted to see people running and being chased by each other. I wanted to see things blow up or somebody crying. I don't know, show me something going on. Or show me somebody having a dilemma. Show me something happening. But this panning of the field and the watching of the waterfall and the narrator just starting to give backstory, I was not interested at all. And yet it was a topic that I was interested in, but they lost me. Why did they lose me? Well, because first of all, it was an older documentary. And I think that nowadays, storytellers are much more aware of what those elements are and how important it is to get it right or people are going to bounce because we have so many options. We have so many options that if it's not well done, people won't stay. So I'm taking that lesson for myself. I'm realizing that as compelling as my stories might be to me, or somebody that I happen to meet, a friend or family member that wants to hear, and I understand their context and we're sitting there making eye contact and we're in the moment, maybe it could be exciting in that way. But to try to find a stranger and to tell them some stories from my life in a way that puts them on the edge of their seat. They feel like they're there and they're so intrigued they want to keep turning the pages. That's a whole different skill set. It's something I don't have. I'm great at doing it one-on-one with somebody. If I'm one-on-one with you in a room, I feel like I get you, I see you, and I know how to talk to you, and we can have this great conversation. It'll be energized, it won't be boring. But it's totally different when you don't see your reader and you don't have the slightest idea who they are, and you've got to get them interested and keep them interested. So, okay, where am I going with this? Where I'm going is I realized I really, really, really need to up my game on learning how to tell a compelling story. And first of all, I have a great book coach who has a set of courses that I've been learning so much from. And she talks a bit about thriller structure, but she also talks a lot about her proprietary method of storytelling. And I love her work so much that I have a little download if you want it. It has a link to her courses, and I have a little description of what those courses are actually about since I've taken them that you can look at. Is that something you want to do? Would that be helpful? I just love her work, so I made that for you in case you're interested in investigating that. You can just see in the description. But today, I wanted to dive deeper into what would AI tell me to do if I had my structure problems. And so what I did is I asked Notebook LM, which is one that I've used a little bit, to create for me the main beats of a thriller. Now, a thriller is a story that is kind of like adrenaline pumping. So it's like an adrenaline pumping style storytelling. That's what I really want my trauma memoir to have, is that adrenaline. So I asked it to create for me an outline with the beats of what would happen in a thriller. And it kicked out, I had to iterate back and forth. I said, could you add more details? Are some of these ones I could split into multiple chapters? And then, you know, once we iterated back and forth, it gave me the main beats, which are basically the little checkbox plot points that you want to cross throughout your story. It spit out a good description. Again, I had to iterate back and forth. And I'm going to show you how I put that on a whiteboard so that I can track and make sure that I have those beats show up. So I'm going to push pause, and then we're going to look at my whiteboard. Okay, here we are at my whiteboard. I have one of these really long ones that kind of go on the back of my door. I'll see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. And I just took the different beats, all 19 of them, and what should happen on each one, and I cut them into a little strip and highlighted different areas. Like this one says this should last 8 chapters. This is where you should drop a little clue for something that's going to happen later. This is the midpoint, etc. So I've got all of these little notes of what should happen. So you can see I've numbered 1 through, I think it's 28. You've got these 19 beats, but some of them can take multiple chapters for what they're trying to tell. So let's see, for instance, Act 1, you've got the opening crisis, and then the second beat is a snap back to the ordinary world. And then you've got the inciting wound or the trigger. And then you work some character introductions throughout. And then you have a glimmer of danger. And all of that is the very first section of the book. Then the next section, the descent, false sense of security, point of no return, rising complications. And then the rising complications, a strategic seed dropping. That's like little things that will end up being parts of solutions later. And you kind of filter those throughout. Then you've got midpoint, revelation, second wave of humor or humanity, etc. And it just kind of goes down through there. But I just thought that was really, really helpful. Okay, so my plan at this point with those beats that I have on the whiteboard is just to match it with some specific elements from scenes and go from there. And, you know, I was such a pantser, which means just write by the seat of your pants, a few years ago when I first started messing around with writing. In fact, I do have one self-published book out called Living with Animals. It's just on Audible, and I wrote that in a weekend. I think it took me 2 or 3 days, and then I just put it up. I hired someone to do the Audible, and that book, I don't think I haven't read it or listened to it since. That was 8 years ago. And that's what I'm capable of without really trying to wrap my head around structure. But this next book is going to be so much more intense and way longer that I've got to get the structure right. So, okay, I hope this is helpful. I will put the link in the description for the notes on my book coach's classes because they're so helpful to me. And I will see you in the next video.